According to the PMC, studies have shown that immigrants from Asia, Latin America, and Africa use mental health services at lower rates than non-immigrants, despite an equal or greater need. In this video, we'll explore how cultural perceptions of mental health influence help-seeking behaviors within migrant and immigrant communities in urban areas. We'll examine key factors, including cultural beliefs, stigma, and access to resources, to understand how these elements shape the decision to seek mental health support. Cultural beliefs play a pivotal role in shaping immigrants' perceptions of mental health. Despite the rise of awareness of psychological disorders, especially in Malaysian education sectors, stigma and false perceptions of mental health and its patients are still very common amongst society. Countries in Southeast Asia such as Indonesia and Malaysia may have a decent understanding of mental health, however, they would often decide to hide the problems within themselves. To them, mental health is deemed as shameful and a disgrace. People with disorders like depression or anxiety, as well as their families, will not be taken seriously by others in their community.
Recently, then we can see that the awareness of mental health, the diseases, types of it, are much more, come to the perceptions of the people, and with the more campaign and supports by the government for the past 5 years in the field of psychology, from the universities to the school, and to the public, I guess we have seen the awareness of common mental health issues now being addressed, at least in our country.
Right? If you are moving to a new country, again, Malaysia, we know Malaysia is always on the way. Malaysia is kind of in between, because here we acknowledge right now mental health importance. However, the mental support system is still not very well built in, especially for foreigners. We know that if we talk about foreign workers,
in our survey about how cultural perceptions has influenced people's help-seeking behavior, we have found out that 67.4% of our respondents admitted to their lack of understanding towards mental health resources, 56.5% feared of judgment by their community, and 41.3% believed to be the stigma and shame associated with mental health issues. We also asked our respondents what are the factors that may influence an immigrant's help-seeking journey. 69.8% believed that it is due to language barriers between the immigrant and the locals, 53.1% believed that stereotypes and prejudice prevented them from seeking help, 51% said that it is due to the economic burdens they have, and 37.5% had answered to cultural beliefs they have towards mental health issues. Another important aspect of our research was the effect such perceptions have, as well as the common misconceptions about mental health services. Mental health has long been a topic people hesitate to discuss, especially in professions where there's an expectation of unwavering performance and responsibility. For years, this stigma has led many to hide their struggles, out of fear of judgment or even losing their job. In 2015, this stigma directly contributed to one of the most tragic incidents in modern aviation history, the Germanwings Flight 9525 disaster. The co-pilot, Andreas Lubitz, had been silently battling mental health issues, but because of the shame and fear tied to seeking help, those issues were never properly addressed. His story reveals the devastating impact of the stigma surrounding mental health, and how it can lead to catastrophic consequences when left unchecked. However, broader labor reforms across Europe have paved the way for policies like the 9-week mental health leave, reflecting a growing recognition of mental health in the workplace.
In many countries, especially in Europe now, you can actually apply for medical leave based on your mental health. So you can apply for up to 9 weeks.
Mental health is a critical issue, yet many people face barriers when seeking help. These obstacles can range from cultural stigma to concerns about cost and judgment. The following data highlights the different reasons why individuals may hesitate to seek mental health support. In our survey, we found out that majority of our respondents rarely seek professional help for mental health issues. We received responses from them as to why they are not seeking for professional help. The bar graph represents the views of 46 participants regarding mental health issues. The largest group, 41.3%, believes the problem will resolve on its own. Other responses include 4.3% who don't believe in mental health issues, 13% who think the issue isn't serious enough to seek help, and another 13% who feel it's not culturally acceptable. Additionally, 10.9% didn't know where to find help, 28.3% were worried about judgment, and 23.9% thought mental health services were too expensive. This distribution highlights various barriers to seeking mental health support. Migration is a significant topic in Malaysia, with diverse perceptions surrounding them. These views are shaped by factors such as economic impact, cultural integration, and societal attitudes. Immigrants are people who comes and lives permanently in a foreign country, whether if it's for work, forming families, or for studies. whilst migrants are people who travels to different places, often in order to find job opportunities.
This region, Southeast Asia, somehow the native of these regions always opens up their border for the rest of the people to come in. You can see from the historical perspective, we had kind of a globalization trading since 15th century. We have seen multiple merchants, traders are coming from the east, the west to this area in order to do the trading, and they're being accepted, right? But probably if you talk about the modern context, I would say that because those days the traders and whatnot, they just come for businesses and then they just went back to their own country. But for the probably the modern context, numbers of the migrants are staying for some it's quite some period of time. For some others, probably they are planning to stay. Therefore, now it's create more complex. It's adding up complexity to the issues because when you want to stay, then a lot of things that you need to consider, and among it are the cultural and language barrier that a person as an immigrant might face. And I guess in general, Malaysian people probably had kind of either prejudice or a bit of negative perceptions towards the immigrants, especially when we talk about maybe crime rate. Though statistically, it is not proven that it is the migrants, the immigrants that's the one that involved, but the perceptions of people whenever they see migrants more in their area, most of the crime will be somehow being associated with them. Yeah, I think the perception is quite not really that positive, I guess. If it's not negative, then but it's not really that positive in general. Yeah.
On our next agenda, we asked about the pros and cons for immigrants to seek for help in urban areas, as well as the difficulties they face on their help-seeking journey.
Advantages would help you, because obviously, even if it's not severe condition, sometimes just people listening to you already helps. If it's something severe, they can prescribe medication. Again, in the urban area, it's a bit easier simply because availability of hospitals is better. So here you can choose, right? If you're in Sarawak, in some rural area, 5 hours, to the nearest hospital. Yeah, of course, it's much more difficult. So here it's easier. So in terms of advantages, as long as you get into the system, they would find a way to help you. For disadvantage, of course, it's money. Most of the time, it's not covered by insurance. You have to pay. Next thing is, of course, again, potential stigma. As I say, nobody wants to admit to employer, I'm depressed, I'm going for treatment. You better find someone else. Yes, there is the risk of losing job. It's still there. It depends how educated is your supervisor, how well do they know the situation. Because maybe if they don't know, they just say, oh my God, this is something serious. I don't want to deal with that case. So another thing, it takes time. So it's not something that makes happen in next day or next week. So it usually takes, again, at least 2-3 weeks to stabilize, and about half a year to make sure that, treatment will help. So this makes it a bit more challenging because we all don't like long-term commitment. Nobody likes.
The lack of social support from any institution, social institutions that should be attached with them, because now they are in different part of the world and probably separated from their families. So lack of social support will definitely have quite a very major impact on them as well. Either it's financially or psychologically as well. That's among the difficulties that will be faced by them. That's yet to talk, I think, about the law itself, like how refugees, for example, they wouldn't be able to apply and get any official job based on the law, right? So, or they shouldn't be owning any businesses. So, certain countries have law that might somehow or become a hindrance for them to develop or live in that country comfortably.
We've covered the issue, and now it's time for action. The question is no longer why this is happening, but how we can fix it. In this final section, let's dive into the solutions that have the potential to change the game. Dr. Eliza suggests 2 ways to provide support for immigrants during working hours, during the sport or after working hours. It suggests having a designated time for screenings, such as a depression, anxiety, or stress survey, and ensuring it is comfortable for them to answer questions. She also suggests that language should be friendly to avoid confusion, and also suggests organizing follow-up steps, such as organizing group sessions for expressing concerns and receiving peer support. This could involve peer counseling volunteers or similar groups, where individuals can share their concerns and receive judgment. Mr. Aswan suggests that NGOs, local governments, and communities should be involved in helping migrants, even though they are not citizens of the country. He mentioned that there are many NGOs that provide free legal advice and consultations for migrants, but there is a lack of focus on health, education, and job aid. Mr. Aswan also mentions that there are few NGOs that exclusively cater to immigrants, and that dividing immigrants into countries of origin can help address cultural adaptation and language barriers. Immigrants from Southeast Asia may face prejudice and discrimination, making them feel outsiders and outcasts from society. However, mental health awareness and accessibility to mental health support can help alleviate these issues. By working together, we can tackle these challenges and create lasting support for those who need it most, helping them build a better future. It's about making meaningful change, one step at a time. Also, check out our website.